Hey guys, how's it going? Zambash here. This isn't a scripted video or anything, so it might sound a little rambly, but following my Molten Strike build video guide, there seems to be some confusion about the way in which AoE works when it comes to making more of your Molten Strike balls hit a single enemy, and this also applies to Firestorm in exactly the same way. A lot of people understand this, but some people seem to be confused about exactly why having less AoE means you're more likely to land more balls or Firestorm hits on a single enemy. So we're just going to take a quick run through that. Over here on the left of this little diagram, you can see we've got a circle with 4 little circles in it. This could be Molten Strike or Firestorm. The big AoE represents the AoE in which fireballs from Molten Strike or Firestorm can land, and the little AoE, little circles, represent the AoE of each individual ball or Firestorm landing. So over here on the left, we've got a radius 1.5 bigger circle, and each of the individual ball AoEs are 0.5. Do the math down here, calculate the area for the overall AoE, calculate the area for each ball. In this example, we've got 4 balls, so we'll get the total area of the balls divided by the total area of the whole AoE to see how much of the AoE we're covering. In this case, we're covering 44%. Now, say you got a 100% increased AoE from gems, trees, skills, whatever. Over here, we've got 100% increased AoE. Radius of the overall AoE has gone from 1.5 to 3. Radius of each ball has gone from 0.5 to 1. So that's 100% AoE. Do the same calculations going down through here. Get the total area of the big circle and each little circle. Take all 4 little circles divided by the total area, and we still come out with 44%. So you can see that no matter how much AoE you get, you're still ending up with the same coverage within the area that your projectiles or firestorms are hitting. And that's why some people seem to have difficulty wrapping their head around the concept, because in their head, they may not be doing all this math, but they understand the concept that as the increased AoE affects both the total AoE and the AoE of each projectile, your coverage stays the same as that AoE goes up. The problem in their reasoning is that they are thinking of enemies as being a single point. My dogs are freaking out in the background here, but we'll keep going anyways, since this is not a fancy video. So, if your enemy is a single point, like this little red dot, obviously this dot actually has some AoE, but imagine it as just being a single point. Points don't have any dimensions, they're just little teeny tiny points. If we put that point anywhere in this circle, we know that we have say we just fling the point randomly from over here into the circle. So here's an enemy, fling it into the circle. According to our math, we've got a 44% chance that that point will be hit by one of these balls. If we bring it over to the big circle, this little point, we still have a 44% chance that the point will be hit by one of these balls, because both of these, regardless of your AoE, have the same coverage over the wider area. However, that is not the correct reasoning to use in PoE, because enemies are not singular points, and this is why smaller area actually helps when you are trying to hit an enemy. Enemies have circular hitboxes, so enemies are their own AoE here. So here, this red circle represents what an enemy is actually like. We bring it into our first example over here, radius 1.5 total area and each ball 0.5. You can see that all 4 of these balls are going to hit the enemy. Obviously, these balls could land anywhere. In this case, they would still hit the enemy regardless of where they were, and this is where you ideally want to be for something like Molten Strike or Firestorm for single target. You want to get your AoE small enough that the enemy takes up a big enough portion of the whole AoE that all the balls will hit them. If we bring the enemy over here to the other side, enemy stays the same as your increased AoE goes up or down. Enemy size doesn't depend on your AoE. You can see that if we got real unlucky and all these balls happen to actually land right out at the edge of the AoE, the enemy wouldn't get hit by any of them. And that's because the enemy over here is taking up a much smaller portion of the total AoE. So basically, the disconnect that confuses people in this point is that they are thinking of enemies as a single point. They realize that coverage stays the same as AoE goes up, so they say, well, why couldn't all of them hit the enemy just the same as I get bigger AoE? And it's because enemies are not a point, they are an AoE themselves, and the bigger your AoE gets, the smaller portion of that AoE an enemy takes up, and so balls are less likely to hit them. So that applies to both Molten Strike and Firestorm. I don't think there's really any other skills in the game that work that way right now, but hopefully that clears things up and helps you guys understand why having a smaller AoE for some of these skills actually means that you are better able to hit a single enemy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.